Nowadays, boxing seems to have turned upside down, with celebrities stepping into the ring instead of great champions. The ropes that were once the stage for legends like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson are now occupied by YouTubers and influencers who haven't spent their lives training for this, but who know how to put on a show. For older fans, this may seem like the true decline of a sport that was once synonymous with glory. However, this change may have been necessary to keep boxing relevant. Although the sport was extremely popular in the last century, nowadays, most people don't even know who the current world champion is. The involvement of digital celebrities and influencers has brought fresh blood to boxing audiences, combining broadcast platforms and social media to leverage gigantic events involving the world of boxing. In this story, one name has stood out: Jake Paul, a YouTuber who began his career making Disney series and videos for the now-defunct Vine, and who now challenges world champions in martial arts. But what is the importance of this for the world of boxing? How did the sport lose its status from a few decades ago? And does the participation of celebrities in the ring demonstrate the decline of the sport or its rebirth? Before discussing these issues, help the channel grow by liking this video and subscribing so you won't miss the next ones. It's totally free and you'll be helping me a lot to continue producing quality content. Boxing first appeared in the ancient Greek Olympic Games, and before that, it was already a popular amateur sport that took place on the streets of cities. In ancient Rome, boxers used to wear props on their hands, some studded with metal, to mutilate their opponents during fights, which lasted until death or the withdrawal of one of the competitors. With the fall of the Roman Empire, the sport lost its popularity and was forgotten for centuries. In the 17th century, in England, the sport re-emerged as a formal fight between 1681 and 1698, without rules or protection, where fighters competed for any amount that bettors were willing to pay. Over time, society changed and boxing gained rules and gloves, becoming a sport much appreciated by immigrants in the United States in the early 20th century. In the 1920s, boxing became popular, and the fight between Jack Dempsey and George Carpentier in 1921 was a landmark event in boxing history, attracting a huge live audience and more than 300,000 people who followed the fight on the radio. Boxing continued as an event that brought together fans and enthusiasts of the sport, but declined when 3 fighters died after bloody fights, which reduced television coverage and sponsorship for athletes, but its popularity declined in the 1990s with the popularization of other martial arts, especially MMA. Recently, celebrities have been increasingly involved in the world of boxing, practicing the sport in an amateur capacity, which has brought boxing back into the limelight and been dubbed celebrity boxing. Contrary to expectations, the participation of famous personalities in boxing is not something new. In 1994, American actor and producer Danny Bonaduce fought against fellow actor Donny Osmond. However, the current scenario is different, with the participation of big internet influencers generating a lot of money through advertising and image sales. Some of these influencers create channels dedicated to the sport and seek to promote their own events, even without having much professional knowledge of the sport. For some critics, this type of exhibitionism has nothing to do with professional sports, which ends up losing credibility. However, it is undeniable that before this, little was said about boxing. An example of this is the Paul brothers, 2 YouTubers who have generated a lot of discussion in the world of fighting. The 2 built their careers with entertainment on the internet, producing videos for millions of followers on social media. They ventured into boxing in an amateur capacity, but it worked. Jake Paul, who fell into the world of boxing by chance, has been controversial. For some, he is just another charlatan looking for views, but for others, he is helping to bring the sport back into the limelight. After he began promoting boxing events on his channel, people, especially young audiences, started to become interested in watching fights again through platforms like YouTube. The events have already reached over 25 million views. The legendary Mike Tyson recognized the importance of Paul for the sport, stating that without him, the UFC would surely end boxing. For Tyson, his differential is precisely the number of eyes that are focused on the young YouTuber, helping to promote events of great magnitude, something that was unthinkable a few years ago. In 2018, Jake Paul and his brother began investing in the sport and challenged other influencers and personalities in the world of boxing, such as Ben Askren, former One Championship champion and former UFC fighter. Jake defeated Ben in the first round, without much difficulty. In one of the Paul brothers' most daring duels, Logan faced Floyd Mayweather, a retired multiple champion with 50 victorious fights on his record. To the surprise of many, the duel ended in a draw and Floyd recognized the potential of his opponent, who withstood his blows. In addition, the exhibition duel between the two yielded million-dollar figures, for Logan's team, approximately $20 million, for Floyd, an even larger slice, around $100 million. The Paul brothers go against traditional boxing, defending fighters who want to promote themselves without the commercial ties of formal contracts. Jake Paul believes that fighters should be the main content of boxing events, which generate a lot of money but do not compensate the fighters well. His provocative personality inside and outside the ring is his trademark. He criticizes the traditional system while fighting to be taken seriously in the ring, attracting attention for being an idol of the young generation that bothers the old guard. Thus, a controversial new era in boxing is born, that of celebrities in the ring. YouTubers, influencers, and media stars who have never trained to be professionals are now more profitable than the legends who made history. In the age of social media, the number of wins and knockouts no longer seems to matter as much as the number of online followers. Although these influencers have revived the sport, the essence of boxing seems to be becoming a thing of the past. Jake Paul is not considered an extremely skilled fighter, but thanks to him, boxing has returned to the media and has generated some millions of dollars. Ironically, the boxing events that attract the most viewers are not those of competition between professional fighters, but fights involving famous personalities. This is because most of these influencers do not accept fighting professional boxers in the prime of their careers and prefer to promote duels against other famous personalities or fighters specialized in other martial arts, since in this case, views are guaranteed. This was the case with the recent fight between Jake and one of the greatest champions in UFC history, Brazilian Anderson Silva. Originally, Anderson Silva is an MMA fighter, retired from the UFC and holds the record for the longest winning streak in the championship. He accepted the challenge of facing Jake in the boxing ring but ended up losing by unanimous decision of the judges. This fight was extremely important for Jake Paul, since Anderson, in addition to being an MMA legend, is also an excellent boxer, and left the confrontation quite injured, something that rarely happened in Anderson Silva's own reign in the UFC. There is no doubt that Jake Paul emerges from this fight with a much stronger image. However, upon receiving a World Boxing Association title in December 2022, Jake said he didn't feel he deserved the title and needed to fight more for it. For several sports fans, journalists, and even fighters, these celebrities are stealing the place of those who really dedicate themselves to their careers professionally. And what do you think about the direction in which this acclaimed sport is heading? Leave your opinion here in the comments. This was another video from Infinite Insights. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you next time.